Heart first leadership isn't what you say, it's how you show up, how you regulate, how you communicate, and how you execute when it matters most. We are Heidi and Ryan Sawyer, and you are listening to the Heart First Leadership Podcast.
Welcome back to the Integrated Mindset Podcast. I am Ryan Sawyer, your host, co-host with my amazing wife, Heidi Sawyer. We are excited to talk about today a conversation that's just been kind of sparked based upon some experiences we've had recently. And we thought, man, that would be really cool to share. So we are in the midst right now, to set the stage of today's podcast, we're in the midst of going through a very, very deep dive with this kind of higher level mastery business coaching program that we're enrolled in to get very, very crystal clear about our offer, about who we serve, and about the outcome that we are providing for our clients, right? Which is really testing us to be like, okay, we got to niche right down. Like, what is it we truly do? What do we really bring to the world? Like, what's our real, legitimate, unique service? And so what it does is have us take a look around and be like, well, like, what's going on in our life? What's happened in our life the last 10 years? What's happened the last 2 years? What's been going on the last 6 months? Like, what's really, really important to us? Like, what's the juicy, juicy stuff where we're just like, yeah, this is what we love to see. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And this is like a difficult process. I want to say anyone who's in the coaching or, therapy, any type of services like that, it's like you could help a lot of people with a lot of different things with the skill sets and the tools that you have. So to decide who it is that you want to help and specifically what you want to help them with is a difficult thing for a lot of people to narrow down. So this has been kind of a fun and interesting process for us to go through. Mm-hmm.
And so what tugs on our heart the absolute most is the experience of being parents, right? And so I want to just go ahead and right now and make this very clear disclaimer. We're not talking about telling anybody how to parent, but we're recognizing the value as a parent and as an individual in a relationship as parents together of us doing our own work, integration, mindset work, right? That then allows for us to show up in a certain vibration, a certain frequency, how we handle things in a way that naturally creates this incredible, what we call an environment of growth. And we did a podcast about environments of growth, which that's evolved even since then, but it's an incredible podcast. It's early on. I don't remember what episode. So here is what we came up with. I want to read this. We help parents create an environment of growth where they model emotional intelligence, resiliency, and confidence so their children have a competitive edge in life. Like when we read that, like we feel that, right? And it does something inside of us. And why that's so important, I believe, is because, we can go into all kinds of reasons why it's important, but that's what we want for our children. We want to give them an edge in life, an upper hand, the ability to take on any challenge, the ability to be a good teammate, the ability to have confidence to step out with faith, the ability to be resilient. And emotional intelligence is so incredibly important, right? To be able just to allow yourself to feel whatever it is you're feeling, but to stay grounded in your ability to still make decisions, even when there's a disturbance, right? And so anyway, we last week or so have been just deep diving these very questions where like, you're going, oh no, get more specific, get more specific, get more specific. And so we started to kind of look around our environment and say, let's pick up some examples. Let's think back and let's look right now and say, where is this showing up? And we have a handful of examples where I'm like, wow, that's really quite neat. And if we could share what we believe is the most important part that's led to those experiences, like why wouldn't we? Right. So yeah, anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, I was just one thought that crossed my mind when you were talking about emotional intelligence was raising boys. We have one boy, one girl, but you can probably relate to this growing up male and in our culture that a lot of times it's not okay to show your feelings or to have certain emotions. So I think that emotional intelligence piece is really important for us as parents to, especially for fathers, to be able to model experiencing emotions in a healthy way, especially to our boys.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a wonderful point. And it's not that we even knew what we were doing before this of saying like, oh, you're fine. Like we thought we were making our kids tough by them falling down and being like, you're fine, get up. Right. And we didn't know any different. Our parents didn't know any different. We didn't know any different even 6 months ago. Like this is legitimately like that fresh and new to us. It's understanding what happens from a self-concept perspective, neurologically, nervous system, all these things that happens when there's a disturbance, and how we can actually regulate ourselves to create a different experience for our children, right? Rather than when we say to them, they fall down, they skin their knee, oh, you're fine, you'll be all right, right? Then now that's diminishing what they're experiencing and basically teaching them that it's bad to feel. And they now are creating a version of themselves that naturally suppresses their emotions, their sensations, the vibrations that are happening inside their body. And so they go through life like a freaking pressure cooker.
Yeah. It also teaches you not to trust your own internal experience of what's going on, because let's say I'm the child, I'm experiencing this pain or fear or whatever's going on. And then the adult or caretaker in my life says, hey, you're fine. Get up. It's fine. It's no big deal. Then that child starts to question, well, I guess I need to wait for other people to tell me what I should be feeling, because clearly I'm not the authority on my own internal experience.
Yeah, because, yeah, you're fine. Get up. Like everything that you're saying there makes me think about like this image that I initially go to where it's like, hey, it's okay to feel feelings. And it's okay. It's like this family that sit around sobbing together. Like that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about allowing yourself to feel fully in one moment and then be able to shift your attention and make conscious choice in the next. So like legitimately, it's about training your mind to no longer be stuck in narratives and be able to derive gifts from the experience and then taking the next step towards a conscious choice.
Yes. And when you allow yourself to fully feel something, that refractory period, that time after the event happens, gets shorter, right? Because we don't get lost in the story and the narrative of what's going on. We actually just allow ourselves to experience it. And then it's a shorter duration.
Will you go just a little bit further and make sure that we all understand what refractory period is?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, you.
Yeah. I thought you said, let me go.
I asked you. I mean, I'm not talking to anybody else.
So it's basically the time period after that it takes for you to get back to a regulated place, right? So it's the time that it takes from the stimulus and you're having your response to it for you to then actually regulate and get back to a more neutral space. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how much time you spend in the narrative, in the pain, in the suffering, in the distance, in the dissonance, mm-hmm. in that disturbance, because when the disturbance is there, you resist it, you judge it, so you feed it more, so it persists, and now you're in it longer. So something that maybe could last 30 seconds, last 5 minutes or 10 minutes, maybe, right? Something that mm-hmm. could last 2 hours, lasts 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 weeks, or Dr. Joe Dispenza would be like
2 months, 2 years,
2
right? decades.
It ends up actually like changing your personality because mm-hmm. you didn't know how to just let it be there and not feed the narrative. Yeah, interesting. So let's talk about the old game first, which we've already hit on, and then we'll work towards the experience and the examples of the new model. So the mm-hmm. old model is basically one of two things: is either diminishing pain or being overly involved in feeding the narrative, or over empathetic, right? Like you're down in the ditch with the individual. So here is the the first example where I actually learned this from Stephanie Fay, who has helped us build the program from a neuroscience specialist perspective to understand what's happening when trauma happens, right? So like we're breaking this down to the most minute systematic level, right? And so she was teaching me about old model and the new model and how to do this mechanical open-ended questioning, this objective noticing and co-regulation. So the old way is Haley I'm gonna basically pretend like I did it the old way first, right? So Haley takes a basketball to the face. Haley and Colton are outside playing basketball. Wacko takes a basketball to the face. I'm kind of in my work mode on a Saturday, so I don't, I'm trying to get everything done by 1 or 2 o'clock so I can enjoy the rest of my day, which means I don't really want to be disturbed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She walks in. I'm gonna play the part as if it happened in the old model. She walks in crying, just sobbing, hand over her face. And this would be the old model. I would say something along the lines, either first of all, well, let's say I'll play my part, then I'm going to play your part. You're fine. Just get back out and play. Like, what happened? You're fine. You took a basketball. It happens. You'll be fine. Get back out and keep playing.
Yeah, there's no blood, right? How many times do parents say
any blood, no bones? Good. Let's go. You're fine, right? Pick
Yeah.
yourself back up. Life hurts sometimes, right? Whatever. Okay. So what that is doing is diminishing the signal of pain and basically teaching that individual, especially at a young age when they're not fully online, they don't know how to make their own meaning of something, is that you're bad for feeling. Mm-hmm. That's the natural meaning making that they're going to take on. I am hurting. I'm coming for some sort of acknowledgement and comfort. And dad's not in a place to even be, I'm not regulating, doesn't help her regulate. She's now bad for feeling. Mm-hmm. Scenario 2 in the old model. Haley takes a basketball to the face. She walks in. She comes to you. Maybe a little more empathetic, a mom versus a dad. And you say, "Oh no, sweetie, what happened? I am so sorry that happened. That must have really hurt." And then she goes, "Yeah, it did really hurt." And then there's this elevated narrative and story, and the pain actually increases. It lasts long.
That's the interesting piece, that the pain actually increases.
We've used this example with stubbing the toe.
Yeah.
Right. So this is where this comes from. So where then now, and then you're holding her and, "Oh, geez, and oh, Colton hit you in the face. Well, I'm sure it was an accident." "No, I don't think it was. I think he did it on purpose." And now there's this whole story that her brother hit her in the face, right? Well, right? You were just playing basketball. You took a shot to the nose, like, right? Okay, so
yeah, those are the facts of the circumstance, right? And then all the other meaning gets attached.
Right? Okay, so there's 2 ends of the spectrum. Either you're fine and get over it and get on with it with life, and you're going to be okay. I don't see any blood. Your nose is not broken. Stop being whiny and diminishing pain, or and going in the ditch, right? Mm-hmm. Like I look at this like a coach too, where you're working with a client and they're kind of having a hard time, and you can listen to their mental, emotional pain without going into the ditch with them. Right?
Yeah, I call that getting in the pool. It's really hard to save somebody if you're in the water with them. You have to kind of be able to stay objective, right?
Okay, so does that make sense? Did I paint that?
Yeah, so those are 2 common ways that as parents, like in the past, we have responded.
100%.
We were responded to in our own, upbringing, and we're not here to blame anybody for anything. We all have done the best. All of our parents have done the best with what they knew, right? And so we're here to equip ourselves and equip others with new tools. So that's what we're going to talk about now. We are all leaders. If you're ready to stop waiting and start impacting your environment in a powerful way, we want to connect with you. Click the Book Now link in the show notes to book a call with a Heart First coach and discover what Heart First leadership can look like in your life and in your environment. Now back to the show.
So I want to say this real quick, disclaimer, multiple times in the last year as I was going through this information and Stephanie would teach me something like this, I would get irritated. I'd get mad. Like I would like sit back in my chair and be like, why doesn't everybody know this? Like, why isn't this somehow taught in day one of like, there should be a parenting class or something. I mean, I'm just like, I don't know what it is. Right. Anyway, there's so many times where when we learn how the human experience is actually being governed and the meaning making it's actually had, how we can soften the edges around the human experience. It just lights me up because I'm like, there's an easier way, you guys. And this is the new model. It's called objective noticing. Okay. When we're talking about objective noticing, we're going to bring our full attention to and identify the sensations that are happening. Okay. Attention to the sensations. And we do this, what's in the program, we do the sensation identification exercise. Complete acceptance without judgment, meaning no story. You're not resisting it. You're allowing it to fully be there. Makes me remember like Dr. David Hawkins. He talks about any state can be passed through us completely in 90 seconds if we don't resist it at all, right? So it's a more open-ended way of approaching. So we're co-regulating. Now, there's two parts to this. There's co-regulation and there's objective noticing. Okay. So it starts with the co-regulation, and that's our part. That's our role as the online adult that has access to all parts of his brain or his or her brain, right? Because the child prefrontal cortex, not developed.
Right.
So, and if you go back a couple episodes, that has to be modeled. And here is a wonderful example of how I can model to my daughter an online awake individual saying my prefrontal cortex lights up. I notice the disturbance, but then I settle it and I'm there fully present with her. So this is what happened. I legitimately, like hours before this, learned this information and then basketball to the face. I'm walking down the hall. I'm still in work mode. Here comes Haley through the door, hand on her face, bursting in tears. Ah! And I instantly like caught my tongue from going, oh, what happened, sweetie? Oh no. Right. And at the same time, feeling this disturbance going, not now. I want to finish my day. I don't have time for this. I don't have the energy for this. Right. So I'm noticing all of this happening. So I go into my own regulation, my own objective noticing and being like, oh, here's an opportunity. Here's an opportunity to practice. The new model, objective noticing, is what do you feel? Not what happened. That story. But what do you feel? And then she stops. She pulls her hands off her face and she's like, my face hurts. Or she goes, then she starts to tell me the story. She goes, the cold is dead in the basketball, And I said, no. I said, what do you feel? And where do you feel it? Oh, my face, my nose. I said, is there a color? Is it throbbing? Is it burning? What is it? She said, it's throbbing, and she's telling me this is, she's 8 and she's throbbing and her face is clearly red. Her face is clearly taking a shot from by the basketball, right? So you go into this open-ended question. Hey, can you look at it? Can you just look at it? And can you let it be there? So think back to, again, it's to notice objectively, bring your attention to it, to accept it, to let it be there without judgment, and to allow it fully without resistance, right? So you ask questions that lead somebody towards that experience of what we call the 3 A's: attention, acceptance, and allowance. Can you look at it? Can you just let it be there? Right? And it was incredible, Heidi. I don't know. Were you there for this? You were home, I know, but her nervous system just goes and settles.
Mm-hmm. I remember you telling me about it right after.
And I said, and then I go, what are your options? Another open-ended question. What are your options? Okay. And she goes, well, I can either come inside and lay down, or I could go out and play. She comes up. I said, what are your options? She comes up with the 2 options. She clearly knows. So which one do you want to do? And she goes, I want to go back out and play. Okay. And that was the end of it. I got back to my day, but I don't want to overlook the importance of the adult, the parent, or the leader, whoever it is, needs to, first of all, regulate. Like in any moment of disturbance, crisis, emotional discord, whatever it is, somebody has to be the person who's regulating, right? And regulate looks like slowing down your breath, taking your attention inward, getting out of the narrative in your body, allowing yourself to feel the disturbance, and being able to be online, right? That takes practice all in itself, right?
And practicing that when it's not a stressful situation is what it takes, right? Because then you have that muscle memory to go to. Right. But I love that in this, you're teaching the child a skill. You're teaching her something that she can use later without needing you to necessarily be there to co-regulate with her. Now she can remember, okay, what's going on, and be able to eventually, you do that enough times, they're going to be able to ask themselves those questions and assess what's happening. Okay, what are my choices?
Yeah. What am I feeling? Oh, it's just throbbing. You just look at the pain. And I'm telling you, I can give you hundreds of examples of this. Practicing Qigong, practicing energy work, practicing breath and mindfulness, and then coming back and something being painful, emotional or physical pain, it works the same. And practicing this ability to take your full attention to it, objective noticing, to regulate, and watching the pain diminish. Like watching the pain legitimately just disappear and being like, oh, it's gone. I'm good. Right? I can move on to the next moment. I can consciously choose the next moment. So that's what she did by asking her, what are your options? So I'm going back to the definition of what we're talking about here. And this is part of one of our 6 C's of calm, of understanding how to regulate. You practice when things are calm, staying calm. And then you practice in situations like this. Like this is the training ground, right? We are training the mind to no longer be stuck in the narrative and be able to derive the gift and step into a conscious choice. Okay, so what do you feel? Where do you feel it? What is the color? Is it throbbing? Is it burning? Can you look at it? Can you let it be there and go through that process of bringing your attention to it, accepting it, allowing it, and then what are your options? This is life-changing, people. Life-changing for your children. For them to notice the disturbance and to not go into story. Yeah. And then for them to be able to consciously choose in the next moment, and you model that ability to regulate through that. The other things that help is mechanical type of questioning. So I'm going to kind of stay more rigid. Then we'll go to a couple other stories and have a conversation on how this can impact every part of your life, not just your parenting, but your relationship with your significant other, with your ability to lead, all of it. Can you move it? Can you still play? Like for us to be able to give the brain a reference point between being, I used to do this unconsciously as a football coach. There's a difference, and teach my guys on a college football Saturday, like there's a difference between being hurt and injured. Everybody has to be able to play hurt. There's not a player on that field that isn't hurt, doesn't have a something that's banged up, right? An elbow, a shoulder, a wrist, an ankle, or whatever. But can you still play? And that was kind of my question to her was, what are your options, right? Well, it still hurts a little bit, but I want to go play. So those mechanical questions are just facts. Like they're not narratives. And this is the piece. So you're helping them realize that there is a pain. There's a pain. There it is. There it is. And here I am. And then you're giving them a choice to either reinforce the pain. And this is part of like modeling a strong prefrontal cortex, that control tower that helps the whole brain communicate and make conscious choices, right? Is to either reinforce the pain. Again, it's not just physical, it could be emotional or a combination of both, or explore. So if we are in the story, we're reinforcing it and it's just compounding and snowballing and actually making the pain stay there longer, or we're exploring our options. Like, oh, my options are, in this moment, come inside and get a treat or whatever it is, right? Or go outside and play. And that's it, right? And you could stop for a moment. I want everybody to do this. And when you stop for a moment, when you think about how this could work in your life and relationship, like I can reinforce this narrative that in this argument, this emotional disturbance that we're currently experiencing, or I can explore my options. My options are, well, I can walk out the door. I can stay here. I can do that. I mean, we can say, how else can this be resolved? How is this for me? How can I then receive the gift from this experience? Giving your brain a reference point that this pain is not going to kill you. Right? It's not, you're not going to be rejected. It's just part of the human experience. On the other end of it, you actually build credibility that you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And you have the tools. And every time you do that, you set up a new neurological pathway. You strengthen a new pathway that helps you to regulate and to choose what the next outcome is going to be. I love that.
Which is not necessarily the next outcome, but your
next action.
Yeah. And what you're going to make it mean, your inner domain, what you're going to do with the information. Right? You can't always necessarily change. Now, all those things do influence the eventual experience or outcome, but like freedom comes in our ability to choose. Our ability to choose in the moment of a disturbance.
Yeah. And in some ways you're building credibility in that way. That's like, this thing happened. And then at the end of it, what's the story you're going to tell yourself about what happened? Well, I got hit by the basketball and I was able to look at it and I decided to go play. And now I know when things like this happen, I can be okay.
Yeah. So I want to tell a few other stories because that's one story. But I have a handful of other ways that we've noticed this pop up. And I'm not necessarily saying, now listen, this is not easy. It's simple, but it takes practice. And so I don't know, what was it? It was the last weekend in August when we were up at Priest. No, it was Labor Day weekend. It was Labor Day weekend.
Oh, Labor Day weekend.
Yeah. We were up at Priest and
up at the lake, if you guys don't know, not from around here.
Parents have a place up there off the water, and they have a pontoon boat, and they were gracious enough to allow us come up and use the cabin for a weekend with the family and have a little nice family weekend. Well, we checked the weather before we hit the lake, and there was a little bit of cloud cover, but there wasn't a storm or any kind. Right. And I have all kinds of weather apps on my phone. I've been tracking the weather my whole life because of our residential painting company. Right. And so I check it, no big deal. Let's go. And so we head way up north, right? Up to, what's it called? Canoe Beach or whatever it's called. Kayak Beach, whatever. Yeah. Up by the thoroughfare, way up all the way to the north end of the lake. And we spend the whole day on the beach, like not the whole day, 3 or 4 hours, whatever it was. The wind starts to pick up a little bit, and this is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're like, hey, let's head back, right? And so, okay, we don't think anything of it. The water's not even disturbed.
There were still a lot of people out at the beach too. I mean,
and we're kind of in a cove up there, sort of like it's protected, so you don't know. We hop in the boat, we come around the corner, and it is rough, right? We found out later that there was a sailboat out there that capsized, that had to be rescued. Like, it was rough enough for me to have to evaluate my choices, right? Can we, number one, it's my father-in-law's boat that I am responsible for. I have my family, which is more important. Clearly, I know that they're more worried about that. But if we wait this out, right, we're actually in an area where the sail range wasn't working, so we couldn't check the weather then. We had to get further up the lake to check the weather, right? Which meant, okay, let's push a little further until we get service to see, do we hide in a cove somewhere and let this pass, or is there lightning coming? Like, what's going on? Well, we get going a little bit further, and it's rough, but it's not yet like a serious situation or anything. And I have a lot of experience being in rough water on boats. I, grew up with a boat, and we did a lot of ocean fishing. And so I'm extremely confident, but it's enough to get my attention. And we get a little further up the lake, and Heidi was able to check the weather, and she's like, yeah, dry lightning is coming. Right. And it's like, we got 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I look at the weather app. I'm like, okay, let's make the decision to push through this. And it's about a 30, 45 minute jaunt or so into this weather to get back to where we keep the boat. And so it gets progressively worse. The wind's blowing harder and harder. We're trying to take the top down, but the wind's blowing so hard, we can barely even get the top down. We finally get the top down. And at one point, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If something did take a real bad turn here, like we're going to want to have life jackets out. So the kids already have their life jackets on, but I tell you, Heidi, get out the life jackets for you and me, just in case, right? And at that moment, I look over at my children, and Haley is clearly afraid, and she's got tears in her eyes, and she says, Daddy, are we going to be okay? And if I was completely honest with you, at this moment in time, I'm white knuckled again, because of all these things going through my head, but I'm surveying the different options and I'm making conscious choices, but I'm having to practice regulating. Let's just put it that way. Like I'm consciously slowing my breath down. I'm allowing for the disturbance to be there and the nerves to be there without, I'm doing all the things that we just talked about.
Plus there's all this story that happens internally too. Like, how did I let this happen? How did I not know? And all these things, right? Yeah.
As we're going, like it got rough enough where a couple times the boat's actually like taking on water, like the water's kind of splashing up over. And I'm like, okay, this is more serious. It went from like kind of fun, it's rough, to like, let's get out of this. Right. Anyway, in that moment, I really wasn't paying a bunch of attention to the kids because I'm so focused on like just keeping everybody safe and keeping the boat pointing in the right direction and doing those things. I look over at the children, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It might have been top 5 proudest moments of my life. I look over, and Haley and Colton are sitting side by side, and eyes closed, sitting up completely straight, like they're in meditation, like breathing and regulating. Right. And I would just put it this way. My beautiful wife wasn't regulating quite as well as they were. So we end up getting, long story short, it's all fine. We get back, we beat the lightning. We get back around the corner by Eagle Point there. And like legitimately, it's like there was no storm. It just was back to normal. We actually saw our one of the neighbors like heading his boat out. We're like, hey, John, stop, dude, you don't want to go that way. But anyway, we're pulling the boat in, and the kids are like, are we fine now? I'm like, yeah, we're past it. It's all good. It's like it never happened.
There's no lightning happening at the moment.
Right. It's all good. No worries. The wind, there was no wind. The water was calm at this point. So it was about an hour of being stuck in that nasty water and whatever. And Haley goes, Daddy, the whole time I was saying to myself, I am safe. I had my eyes closed, and I just kept saying, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. And Colton said, yeah, Dad, I thought that was awesome. He goes, you just taught me recently that there's a way for us as warriors to be still in the midst of chaos or storms. And so I just looked at it as training, and I thought, well, I'm just going to practice being completely still and just letting myself feel what I was feeling and not make it mean anything. Like this is, an 8 and a 9-year-old. And
he did better than I did.
Yeah. And when they could clearly see that mom was disturbed and dad was nervous and focused and a little bit white knuckled and all these things going on, for them to be able to regulate that. Like, I'm not telling this story to kind of say like, hey, I'm saying like, this is what's possible when we do the individual work and then we expose our kids to it and we make it to where our team, and I'm saying our team, our family is a team, right, is now building this reference of like, hey, we together can get through anything.
Right.
We can work together and we can get through it, and we're going to be okay on the other end of it. And I have no idea. But what is the ripple effect of that in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Not just for our family, but it is inspired. And I'm so grateful for the work that we've been led to and the mentors that we've come across, because from all the way back, from the Unbeatable Mind tribe to Stephanie and to everybody else, the Qigong work and Andrew and all these people that we've worked with, like, has legitimately led us to a place where this is the experience that we're having. And it's not, hey, look at us, but it's like, hey, this can be possible for you too. And your family, you can give your kids this gift.
Yeah.
If you do the work, if you're willing to lead by example and model it.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you even have to be perfect, like
No,
clearly we all
no.
have our moments. We're all human. And I think the important part is that they see us working towards it. And even in that situation, I was like, you know what? Mommy could have handled that better. So I'm going to forgive myself for, getting worked up there, but it's also a great learning opportunity. And so I think that transparency in that, we're showing them what it looks like to do the work and to not do it perfectly every time, but to take authentic action to continue to do better, get just 1% better each time.
Heidi, what you say there is so important, is that it's not about tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be able to regulate.
Mm-hmm.
It's that tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm just going to practice regulating. I'm going to practice this objective noticing. So when it comes time to when I need it, it becomes my natural operating system.
Right.
Like I just resort to it. I anchor in it and I just become it.
Yeah. And maybe somebody gets hurt or there's some situation that happens and your first reaction is like, ah, and you react in the old patterned way, but you catch yourself that next time, right? You catch yourself like mid yell or whatever is going on. Maybe you would have lashed out, yelled at your kids or freaked out in some way, and you catch yourself and then you're able just to take a breath and pause for a second, go, okay, all right. Okay.
And when we look at that, the gift, okay, so one would say, what's the gift in that? The gift is recognizing, like, even how I handled it. I personally was surprised by how much of a disturbance I was feeling inside of me, which told me there's a way more training I can do. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I'm a very optimistic person. But I also know that where I'm never going to rise to any occasion, I'm going to always fall to my level of training. And if something ever were to happen in my environment and I didn't handle it well, and then it didn't turn out well because I didn't handle it well, like I want to know that I have done this type of work to where if something did happen where my family needs me to regulate and show up, without story, without narrative, and just make conscious, decisive choices in the moment to keep people safe, right? To get us out of that experience, or even if it's business decisions or whatever. Like, I want to know that I did everything in my power so I could show up when it was time to show up, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so for you and for all of us, and for me too, like in that experience was like, it's just a point of inspection to go, there's more work to be done. Which is why we keep training, and why we keep doing ice baths, and why we go down and work with the former Navy SEALs, and why we keep doing hard things. Is because if you stop training it, you lose it. And then
it's like a muscle. I mean, you can't stop working out and expect to be where you were.
Yeah, your confidence begins to decline, and it's so important. You want to tell the most, I want you to tell the most recent story. Right?
Okay. Yeah. So recently, we don't watch a lot of TV, but one thing that we've been doing with the kids is we've been watching nature shows, and we've been learning a lot through doing that, and learning about how different animals, raise their young, and how the young learn by watching the adults. And it's really actually reinforced a lot of what we're teaching in our program. And it's just been a fun bonding thing. So one of the things we started doing just within the last couple of weeks is the weather started to change a little bit. And so we started drinking tea, and the kids got excited about that. And they like to drink a little tea before bedtime. And so we got this little set up down in our TV room with a little electric tea kettle and some teacups and things. And one of the things our daughter loves to do is serve people and kind of be the restaurant server and play that game. And so she wanted to bring us all our tea and was asking what flavor do you want, and fixing it all up. And so she got them ready, and one was maybe filled a little bit high. The cup was hot. And as she started walking towards us, she it was like, it must have burned her hand a little bit. It just felt hot. It shocked her.
It splashed out and actually landed on top of her hand and burned her.
That's right. Yeah. So she dropped the cup. She kind of threw the cup and she's like, ah. And everybody in the room, was all four of us, including her, we all just kind of stopped for a second. We took a breath and we looked and we're like, okay. We just had the carpets cleaned, I think the day before. Mm-hmm. So, and this tea's all over the place. But what was impressive was just like, okay, I said, hey, Colton, go upstairs and get some towels. And then you asked her, are you all right? What's going on? You were asking her some of those same questions, right? Is it hurt?
I said, what do you feel? Where do you feel it? Can you just let it be there? Can you notice it? He goes, yeah. What do you feel? And he goes, it's throbbing. It's burning. And I said, okay, let's put some cold water on it. I said, can you just let it be there? And she said, yeah. And she let it be there. And then legitimately, it was 10 seconds later. Mm-hmm. She goes, I'm fine.
And there was no big story about, the pain, the cup being dropped, the water, the tea being spilled on the carpet. It's just like, we all just kind of took care of what needed to be taken care of and went back to enjoying our evening. And it was really nice. And I think it was just a few minutes after that, I was like, that was actually pretty cool. Mm-hmm. That was actually pretty cool because I could have seen that whole thing going down differently in the past, just got the carpet cleaned. I would have gone, right. And had a reaction, which would then escalate her reaction and everything else, because that ability to co-regulate means that we're all kind of being a little more neutral in the situation, seeing it for what's really going on.
And that co-regulation is so important too, because legitimately we are better at regulating when we're together and one person's good at regulating, right? So if you're out in the woods by yourself, that's going to potentially be, for most people, maybe there's some people who are super outdoorsmen that don't get nervous, but I'm one who hasn't spent enough time in deep nature to be like, oh yeah, no, I feel at home here. Right. So if I'm out there by myself, I'm not as good at regulating, but I'm out there with my buddy Connor, let's say, who spent, a ton of time in the woods and knows where everything, what's going on. For him to be there with me and him regulating helps me feel more regulated. Mm-hmm. Right. And so this idea of co-regulation is the better one of us gets at regulating, the better the other gets at regulating. Mm-hmm. Right. And so we have the objective noticing thing going on, the co-regulation thing going on. And anyway, we've been going for a while. So I want to hear a couple of takeaways and then, maybe a starting point of some sort.
Yeah. So a couple takeaways from the different stories that you shared, and is that the first step for us as the adult or parent in the situation is to get ourselves regulated. So that's slowing things down, taking a pause, taking a breath, and training that in times where we're not in a high stress situation. So practicing that calm at other times. Yeah. And then using that objective noticing and being able to help either ourselves or those around us notice what's going on by using some of those questions, doing the mechanical questioning, like, can you move it or can you still play? And then deciding what's next after that. I love how all of this ties into your 3 A's and that being able to accept what's going on, allow it without resistance. And one of the things that I would like to do is I want to summarize a couple of these things and put a little resource in our free community so that those of you that are listening to this episode, I'm thinking I'll do it in a graphic form. And if you would like to join our free community, I will put the link in the show notes. We've got lots more in there in terms of if you want to learn some breath work. We have some free resources and things there that can help you start that process of doing some of that training for yourself. But I'll also put some notes from this show in a graphic form in there. So I want to invite you to join our free community and get your hands on that so you can have that kind of as a little guide when you do find yourself in a situation or something that you can review on your own, because I think that would be really helpful just getting started.
Yeah, I just I'm just thinking back to like the old model and the new model. Like, can you imagine if you grew up with an environment where no feelings were bad? You didn't condemn them. You allowed yourself to feel fully, and in case you don't know this, if you're listening, like your superpower as a human being is your ability to feel.
Mm-hmm.
It helps to create the new experiences you want to have in life is by being very, very connected to that. And so just want to make sure that we understand, like, it's all great information, but where do I start? And Heidi mentioned it multiple times. In the calm, in visualizing and creating calm in our lives, we don't want to think that we're going to, next time things get charged up, that we're going to be able to access something that we haven't practiced. Mm-hmm. Practice staying calm when things are calm. And like legitimately, there's no better place than somewhere safe in your home in a seated position, just being aware of your breath. Starting with a breath practice, learn how to regulate your breath, learn how to mechanically breathe in a way that impacts your physiology and impacts your state, and being able to self-soothe and regulate. That's where you start. And then you can actually imagine in your mind a rugged situation and still staying calm, a high stake situation and still staying calm, right? And so when the next time you're out and I've been doing this work for years, and it's just now like really taking hold.
And you've done trainings with the police department and
first responders.
First responders.
I worked with hostage negotiators.
Mm-hmm.
I taught this very exact thing years ago to hostage negotiators and teaching them, hey, let's learn the breath. Let's learn how to regulate. Let's learn how to practice calm. Now let's then imagine a rugged situation to stay calm. Let's imagine a high stakes situation to stay calm. And given your brain and your body doesn't know the difference between real or perceived. You're giving it a reference point, an actual roadmap. You're giving it an actual, like, you're on the freeway, and when you get triggered, when there's a disturbance, there's no exit if you haven't practiced it.
Right.
You don't have an option. You're going to go to your default mode, your conditioning, and that's going to be survival, right? But when you practice it and you train it authentically, consistently, right? Then you're legitimately on that road. Something happens. It still causes the disturbance within you, but then you're like, oh, look at there. There's an exit. And you're able to pull off, adjust, evaluate, right? And decide, and then act. That's why we came up with the bada, right? We train bada. So it's breath, attention, decide, and act. And anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But my point is, you're actually creating this reference point in your mind. So this is all possible. It's all great. It's all fine in theory, but it takes practice. Without practice, nothing's obtained. It always comes back to the practice. It always comes back to whether or not you actually connect and regulate and learn how to breathe when things are calm, and then progress from there. And like Heidi said, join the community. We got free breath courses and all kinds of stuff. And there's no more important work, in my personal opinion, that we can do for our kids than be able to model this for them and to allow for them to fully feel, so they can choose consciously in the next moment.
Yeah. Modeling emotional intelligence, resiliency, and confidence.
Yeah. And
that's what we want for our kids. That's what we all want for our kids.
As much work as I've done on those three things, I have a long ways to go. I recognize it all the time that I'm like, there's work to be done here.
Mm-hmm. But think how much advantage, like you said, giving your kids the upper hand, giving your kids the competitive edge in life. We're working with some outdated programming and conditioning based on our own experiences growing up and throughout life, right? But think of the impact that all of us as parents can make by being the catalyst for change right now with this generation, so that when our kids have kids of their own and they are raising them, they have these tools because these tools were modeled for them. Like, that's the bigger vision of what really we're inviting you as a listener to be a part of, and joining our community and getting on board with some of these tools and things that we're teaching is that you can be the catalyst for change in the next generation. And man, that's powerful.
Yeah. And one more little thing, like this, somebody who I just heard something in my head of somebody who had maybe listened to this, but it's like, I'm going to teach toughness, like mental toughness, like this is emotional intelligence is mental toughness.
Yeah.
The ability to co-regulate and to objectively notice is the number one skill that Mark Divine teaches Navy SEAL operators. Okay. Is to witness, is to observe, is to not attach or identify to your thoughts, to your emotions, is to create space. Like that's that's where he starts when he trains special op candidates. So
yeah,
it
the ultimate,
is the cornerstone of mental toughness. Right. So
yeah, wonderful conversation. I appreciate all of your insights and the examples. And I'll leave the link for the community in the show notes. We appreciate you being here. We know your time is valuable. We appreciate you spending some of it with us.
Have a great week.
Thank you for listening. Remember, leaders go first. Alignment matters. And the environment that you create is the legacy you'll leave. We'll see you on the next episode.